So again, welcome to this event. Short introduction, how it will take place. I don't know if you already participated in the last virtual event, the first virtual meetup, which was designed as a webinar. But as I said already last time, we are trying out different formats. I'm also very curious about your opinion about these formats. So I would very appreciate if you, at the end of the event, just leave a comment how you like this one. And what we plan today is to design the event as a video interview. So I have my interview partner with me today, Sascha Poggemann from Cognigy. I've prepared a couple of very interesting various questions, but I would really also invite you to post additional questions in the chat that we can then answer within the Q&A session. So this as a short agenda for today. In case you haven't heard of us yet, or this is your first event with us, we are the Munich Robotics RPA Meetup group, a meetup group that is there to link all people that are interested in RPA, AI, and all similar topics. We also have a next event planned with the topic of process mining, which will take place in July. And please just sign up to our meetup community to not miss any other event in the future. Good. Before we start with our video interview, we would like to know more about you, who you are, what's your background, what do you know already about the topic RPA, and especially today also AI, conversational AI. So I will just switch over. To Slido that I will use today. So just scan the QR code and join me in Slido on the first question. Okay, so I'll leave it open for a couple of seconds more. Okay, so quite a technical background today. Nice to know. For those of you who put in other, maybe you can leave a comment in the chat section of Teams just to describe what it is exactly that you're doing. In the meantime, I'll already go on to the next question. How much do you know already about RPA and AI? Okay, so quite a broad mixture. Good. And one last question before we start. What are you looking for in this event today? Why did you decide to join? Okay, so most of you really with a professional background. Okay, then I wouldn't want to keep you waiting any longer. Thanks for telling us a bit about you. And I would now like to invite you, Sasha, to, first of all, maybe start just introducing Cognigy, introducing yourself as soon as you are ready.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on the slide, on this presentation. I was hearing some background noise. I think it's gone now. Okay, great. So yeah, my name is Sascha Poggemann. I'm from Düsseldorf, Germany, working with Cognigy, as CEO, founder of Cognigy, where we are developing an enterprise software stack for conversational automation. And we've been exposed to the conversational AI space for several years now. Our headquarters is based in Düsseldorf, but we do have global practices around the world. So in Sydney, in the US, in Korea, etc. So it's an international play, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on around the world. And I'm really happy to be on this meetup right now, because I've been working very intensively also with robotic process automation vendors in the past 2 years on bringing these two technologies together. And I'm happy to share some insights about this today. Actually, Sophie, now we can't hear you. Are you on mute?
Sorry, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, thanks, and great to have you on the meetup. I'm really excited also to, enlighten together with you some more aspects about RPA. Maybe, as we all know, RPA is not the most bright technology, let's say, and I'm really, really think that conversational AI is a good, a good opportunity to enhance the stupidness of RPA a little bit and make more out of it. Maybe you can, explain a little bit more what really is behind this word conversational AI.
Yeah, in our opinion, it even goes beyond just this AI topic in this, but we kind of frame this as conversational automation. I really think that this is an absolute game changer, because nowadays around us, we do have virtual assistants, voice assistants, and even chatbots where we interface on messenger channels for automating conversations in a personalized fashion, where we want to have this personalized touch, and we want to even have an experience that is instantly available. When we have a problem, we want to just go onto the existing channel of our choice. Speaking from a customer's perspective, if it is WhatsApp, if it is whatever, a Facebook Messenger chatbot, or if I hit the website, I want to start typing into a chat widget, I want to just address my question or get a process started. And this is where conversational automation comes into play. And it really helps to create these experiences for the end user, and even completely automate processes. And this is where later on we'll be speaking about the ability to combine robotic process automation with conversational AI. But if we look at this, conversational AI is pretty much a branch of artificial intelligence that uses software, and in particular natural language processing and some machine learning techniques, to detect and get the intent of a user, extract information, what the user typed or said to the system, and then make a meaningful decision out of this, have a dialogue, be conversational, and then come up with a result. So the goal of conversational AI is really to mimic human conversation so that we can be very natural about it, address our feelings, address our needs in our own spoken or written words. And this should facilitate a high quality conversation that goes just really far beyond simple question and answers, I would call it. And so there are many different forms of conversational AI out there. We do have the chatbots, we do have some messenger apps, where we do have, let's say, visual components as well that are part of that conversation. So it's not only the text, but it might also be images, graphics, even videos can be embedded there, depending on the channel that we're choosing to communicate on. On the other hand, for example, if we are tapping into the phone line, we only have our voice. Or if we're thinking about, let's say, virtual assistants or digital assistants like Alexa, etc., they provide their own capabilities. And looking at this conversational AI space, most of us probably interact with conversational AI already in our daily lives. We might have a Google Home and an Alexa at home, or even when we look at the phone lines, for some degree, and this is evolving very rapidly right now, we do interact with interactive voice response systems, IVR systems. If you want to talk about this, do this. If you want to talk about this, do this. Or press 1, press 2, etc. We know that from the telephony systems. It still sucks from a user experience, but now with the capabilities of conversational AI, being able to detect what are the user intents, what is he saying, how is he saying this, and extracting meaningful natural language information from these inputs. This really enhances rapidly right now, and we do see that this is completely changing how customer service is performed in organizations. So where it was all right a couple of years back, if you think about you wanted to interact with a business and you might write them a letter, come back a couple of years later, a couple of days later with a response. We shifted to email. If you send an email a couple of hours later, you already expect a response. Nowadays, if we look at WhatsApp, you're sending a message to a friend, you see these 2 blue check marks, and you think, why is he not replying? So there's really a sense of urgency going on. And this puts businesses under pressure to fulfill these communication needs. So if I'm an insurance customer, I want to file a claim. I don't care whether it's Sunday night or whatever. I just want to get this going and make sure that the insurance company is taking care about it. And this is kind of a need that the customers address to businesses, and businesses need to react on this. And that's why a lot of studies also predict that conversational AI will be becoming increasingly important in the coming years because we are all transitioning more and more to a, let's say, we call that self-service approach. So I have a problem and I don't want to mess around with logging into a portal, or I don't want to care about this. I just want to get my message out, say, get this started. I have a problem, please help me, and please help me now. Now I'm having this problem. It's a sense of urgency again. And we will see more and more of these technologies surrounding us, maybe even very subtle, where we think where this is offered to us as a service, and we don't even really notice that there's a let's say a conversational AI in the background answering all these questions. And all of this allows really fast and personalized communication for not only for the younger generation, but for all kinds of generations out there, because we also see that this kind of communication is being adopted even by elderly, because what's interesting there is that they can communicate in their own pace. Nothing is pressuring them like an agent on the phone line and saying, hey, I need a reply. So this is all in their own speed. So where for the younger generation, it might be the sense of urgency. For an elderly generation, it could be even a slowdown so they can consume the information provided and then communicate in their own pace. And that's why there's a lot of stuff going on right now with and around conversational AI, and I'm very happy to be part of that.
Great, thanks. To get a even bit, I don't know, preciser understanding, or to get more of a feeling what is really possible with conversational AI and where the benefits are, do you have maybe some concrete use cases that have been realized with conversational AI or with Cognigy in the past?
Yeah, definitely. We can speak about that. And I would use an example where we're actually using process automation technology for one insurance company. So what we are doing there is we are automating user conversation for an insurance company to file a claim. And part of that claims management process is that in these days it is required to upload specific information for filing successfully a claim. So some documents are required, some additional information is required, and this insurance company, they went ahead and they combined OCR scanning technology from Kofax with conversational AI. Because if you think about it, you could have a simple FAQ chatbot. You ask a question, you get a reply, conversation is over. You know, that only brings you not very far. It helps, but it does not really automate a complete process. So what we are looking at Cognigy right now, and we do have a graphical conversation editor for that, is to completely define the way a communication is happening. And we are moving into what we call a transactional conversational AI. So getting back to the example of an insurance company that puts out a claims management process, you start a conversation with the user, you want to find out whether he's a customer or not. So you will ask specific questions of identifying your customer, and then you need to look into your CRM systems or backend systems, whether that customer can be found, and whether you find some more information about this customer, which insurance policies he has, etc. Once you've done that, you might start an authentication process with the user because you want to make sure it's actually them. Depending on the case, whether you need that from a regulatory aspect or not. And then you want to go into having a dialogue with the user about his claim, the claim that he wants to file. So you want to narrow it down, which specific segment is this about? And once you're there, you want to tailor the process so that you're requesting the required information from the user. Don't make it just general, requesting all kind of information, but specific for what you understood, what his problem is, request the required information. And all of that can be structured with a conversational automation stack. So if you do that, or when we looked at this company doing that, at some point in time, we were like, okay, they're sending us, or the process requires to send some documents. And so what they did is they already had in-house Kofax scanning technology, and they just said, okay, let's just send these documents right within the chat, process them, send them to the OCR, extract information from the document, and then populate that back into the chatbot as well, and personalize the conversation based on the inputs that were given from this OCR and scanning. And then this particular company, they already had pretty good APIs available, but and this would be our link to the robotic process automation, because we do see that many companies are still lacking really sophisticated APIs for providing such services, and that's where robotic process automation can come in place. So you would want to, let's say, interface a system that does not have a proper API. You could use robotic process automation technology. But what is very important at this particular case is robotic process automation technology is not real time, it's slow. So you would want to have a system that communicates with the user, that is the conversational AI part, And then you want to have the backend process automation part of it. And that needs to be decoupled in a way that, for example, the user sends some input and you said, okay, hold on, I'll process this information. And it might take a little while, let's say 1, 2, 3 minutes or something. And once the information is pulled from the backend services, you will notify the user and say, hey, I'm ready, we can move on. I found your record on the files, and actually I need this and this particular information in order that we can move forward. And all of that is a very conversational way, guiding the users very well through the information, through the process, so that at the end, you will have all information available to successfully process that internally. Why is this so important? Because the traditional process looks the following. Current situation really is that the user sends, for example, an email, says, I have a problem, whatever it is. My house is kind of like torn down or something, a storm. But in 99% of the cases, the insurance company does not receive all information required. And so what starts there is a back and forth providing information. And most of the times, this request cannot be solved easily. So it is really a lengthy process with back and forth. And as you can imagine, that consumes a lot of energy, a lot of manpower, a lot of costs on the insurer as well. And so staying with this example, it really is possible to streamline a process, put that into a conversational interface, guiding the user, and even having the ability to come back at a later point in time, providing information that is not yet available. So, for example, if you require some photos of a case, of an incident that happens, the user could go back and say, okay, I'm taking the photos, then coming back, providing these pictures and images, and all of that can then be combined into a case, so that the agents can then focus on processing all this information combined and have a more streamlined process. And this is really a case where we are using conversational AI in combination with process automation and combining these two technologies together, and therefore creating a fully automated claims management process.
Impressive, very impressive. Do you feel that there's at the moment some kind of, an increased demand or really a trend that the companies are following, following a path more into self-service, as you said it before, or is it maybe even some kind of hype now about the chatbots? How do you feel that at Cognigy?
Well, if we narrow it down to the chatbots, I think there was definitely some part of a hype in the early days, and this is also maybe why we didn't really start out with chatbots right away. We came from the voice side. We started out with voice applications, but ran into some limitations there that I can speak about a little later. About the way how voice is being processed, about timing, etc. We'll get to that, I think, throughout this conversation. But then we found our technology is actually not only made for voice applications, but also chat-based conversations, and that's where we came into the chatbot space. But what we early found out is that there's, I don't know, 2,000, 5,000, whatever vendors out there. If you really look at and our target group is really large enterprises, they do have some really specific needs about an enterprise software stack, how that needs to be combined. And we do see that there are a lot of synergies for example, coming back to the website content management space. In the early days, everybody was building websites by custom code. Nowadays, if you look at this, if you want to have non-technical users involved, you would not build a website by code only. You want to put a content management system under the hood. That said, we do see that this is exactly happening in the conversational AI space as well, and in this chatbot space in particular. So you would want to have easy to use tools so that also not so technical people can be involved in the design of a conversational AI solution. Why is this important? On the other hand, you would want the technology people directly involved here. Because if you're only providing a very basic flow editor graphical tool set, what will happen is that the use cases themselves will stay very at the surface, not interfacing with the backend systems. And only if a company is taking an approach where they are combining the needs of the line of business, the business people and the tech people together, they can combine and interface with these backend systems very seamlessly. And that is where the real power of a transactional conversational AI system sits. And that's why in the early days, we only saw quite limited chatbots which were not really interconnected with system needs. And that's why they were only able to answer basic, simple FAQ questions that you could also put on a website for answering. Nowadays, it goes beyond that. Companies have learned that and familiarized themselves more and more with such technology. And CIOs in particular have made the transition to moving into more sophisticated projects, and also then see the need to transform and change some of their processes so that they are actually suited for conversational AI. And all of this contributes to more mature implementations of conversational AI, more useful applications of conversational AI. And that said, yes, there is and was a hype, but nowadays it's really companies have understood to find cases or to identify cases where there is a real ROI of automating these conversations. And then that's what they are moving into. And what we see with our platform is pretty much they can get started in any kind of area. What they will do is they will start with one project, and then there's another project and another project. And what they do is they kind of learn how to build, I would call it the center of excellence, but combine the knowledge around those technologies in a certain group within their organization, and then learn how to deploy several projects and each time accelerate and push the boundaries of what's possible. And that's, again, where we do see a lot of synergies to the RPA space. It started out with individual projects and individual departments, and at some point in time, it converged to a center of excellence for robotic process automation to combine this knowledge throughout the organization, and then have a centralized process orchestration as well. And we're all aware of the problems if interfaces change, etc. You need to do adoption, etc. for the robotic process automation part. And I think all of that really contributes to companies dealing more sophisticated with these technologies these days.
You already said or mentioned before Alexa. So I think this is the most known conversational AI, I guess, as many people have one Alexa at home. Mm-hmm. So maybe you can share with us what, in your opinion, is the differentiation, or maybe the main difference between Cognigy, so to say, and Cognigy's service in comparison to Alexa.
Well, there's not really. It's so different, but let's deep dive into this. As I was mentioning before, we did start out with a voice application, and we very deeply looked into what Alexa built there, and it's great technology. But what we see is that companies are kind of struggling using this as a marketing channel. Something. If you look at the users, it's still what you're doing with it mostly is switching your lights on and off. If you have a smart home connected, you're turning the radio on, and maybe you're using it for your shopping cart or something like that. But it's not like Alexa itself is being used for so many applications in your household. And we saw this early on, but we of course jumped onto this and said, hey, you can easily build Alexa skills also with Cognigy technology, because what we found is that even though an Alexa kind of also, it detects an intent, but then it's the question, how do you fulfill this information? How do you, again, connect to any backend system, databases, and pull in the right information? Yes, you can do that all in code, but there is a possibility to do that, to extend that to the line of business people, to involve them, which is very important because they have the knowledge around the business processes. But what this actually did for the whole industry, it pushed the boundaries of the ability to detect speech, to transcribe speech to text, to combine it with natural language processing, and then on vice versa, transfer text back to speech. When we first started out, even a little bit before Alexa, when you look at the system in place, it's a chain of technologies that is involved. So first thing, you have the microphone, etc. If you look at the hardware stuff itself, but then you do have the speech to text services. You do have all the natural language processing, the text to speech, so that you have this round trip, and all of this introduces delays. The problem in the early days was really that there was a lot of a delay in the speech-to-text process. And so if we are talking about natural language conversation, we expect somebody, the system, or another person to answer kind of instantly. We don't want very much delays in such systems. And what happened there is throughout the last 3 to 4 years, this rapidly evolved. And nowadays, we are actually able to have a full phone conversation with conversational AI by nearly real-time transcription from speech to text, processing it through the natural language processing, fulfilling it, and coming back with an answer. And that's why this really has done a lot for the industry, where we are now tapping fully into the into the conversational AI space, also on the phone lines. Yeah.
Okay, going a bit further here, maybe especially in this speech component, would you say that there's something that could go wrong with conversational AI? Or I guess that many people have fears that somebody is always listening.
Yeah.
Do you have any experience on that, or what is your opinion here?
Well, two things can go wrong, and that's I think I want to introduce that here a little bit. So the interesting part when you look at a combined system that can fulfill chat messages and that can fulfill voice messages, there's one very interesting part in that. So if you have a text channel, what you will have is typos, misspelled words, etc. It's quite interesting. People do mistype something all the time, but then with some techniques in the natural language processing, you can still get the sentence structure and even similar words, or correct a few typos, etc. But on the voice system, what you will get is into the conversational AI is always perfectly written words, because the speech to text system will kind of like transcribe and then map it to a word vector and come up with precisely written, correctly written words. But the words themselves can be wrong. And that is a really big differentiation, and that kind of contributes to misunderstoods, etc. And actually, at Cognigy, we filed a patent on such things, because we saw that there will always be bias in what have I understood from the user on the voice and chat channel. But we said, okay, we have to, let's say, sort this into different categories. So for we introduced a threshold that where we are very confident that an intent of a user is correctly understood. You can combine or configure this in your conversational AI stack. But then there's a very low threshold where you say, I really don't understand what the user is saying. But in between, we have a window, let's say a window of opportunity, where we can actually query the user, did you mean this and that? So we could actually do a reconfirmation to the user. And this is very natural, which we as a human would do as well. If I don't get something really, but from the context, from what we've discussed before, I might have a clue about what it is. I could ask you a question back and say, hey, did you mean this and that? And then we can clarify on the conversation, and all of this contributes to a better understanding in the conversational AI space, and for better reasoning and answer preparation here in the conversational interface. That said, this is really another important component that contributes to the enhancement that have been made in the past. So getting back to your question, help me out with that if I answer that correctly or completely already.
No, fine for me. If anyone else in the audience disagrees or would like to know more about this aspect, yeah, would actually only have one last question. So really all of you just use the chat function, use the opportunity to ask away whatever you would like to know from Sasha. So my last question would be, I'm a very hands-on person. So I would, to get an even better understanding, would probably like to just try it out myself. Is there some opportunity with Cognigy to do that easily?
Yes, there is. Actually, on our website, you can sign up for a free trial. We are heading more into educating more and more people, in particular developers, to use our software, to get their hands onto it right away and to build something amazing with it. Of course, that cannot be used for commercial projects, but we do invest a lot of time in educating partners, implementation partners like CGI, or individual developers to familiarize themselves with our technology and build something amazing with it. So one of our partners in South Korea, they took out that opportunity, and they wrote a dedicated integration into UiPath for Cognigy. So early on, we said Cognigy needs to be an open ecosystem, and we did everything for developers to extend the platform capabilities. So nowadays, you can connect your own channels to Cognigy. You can go ahead and connect to your own natural language understanding. If you don't want to use Cognigy AI's natural language understanding, what you could do is you can connect to Dialogflow, Watson, Microsoft, or even bring your own natural language understanding. And then for the backend systems as well, and for the technologies that we interface with, we created the Cognigy integration framework. And that allows developers, and it's all on GitHub, happy to share the codes, etc. here as well. So we created an open source integration framework so that everybody can now build integrations into Cognigy AI. And I know that CGI has working for some customers on this as well, because all the customers, they have so many different systems. And what we said is like, we need to open up the world so that everybody of our partners who do the actual implementation work, who do the project work and use our technology at customers can extend the capabilities of our platform. And yep, that's how you can get access to our technology. Just go to our website, sign up for a free trial, and you can get going. You will receive onboarding videos. We do have online trainings. We do have remote classes, Corona affected. Usually around the world, we were running in classroom trainings. So we are doing a lot to educate people around conversational AI.
Nice. I just in parallel found the free trial link, so I will just put it in the post and the chat for everyone.
Amazing. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. There was one question already about the Cognigy platform. Maybe you can say a bit more what is really behind this platform? What does it mean?
Good question. If you look at, we are targeting enterprise customers, and yet you can find out there in the market, you can find a lot of open source software tools, etc. But an organization who wants to get started with conversational AI, they don't want to start building basic functionalities like integrating into Facebook Messenger, connecting to WhatsApp, or even configuring their natural language processing system or training machine learning models. They just want to get started right away. And we pulled all of that together in a combined software offering so that you can get started with conversational AI without writing a single line of code. And this is what we mean by platform, is like really the ability to connect to a variety of different channels, chat and voice channels, then all the natural language processing features that we propose within the software, and then also the ability, we spoke about that a little bit, we do core of the technology, or core of the platform is a graphical conversation editor, and that is being used to structure a conversation with the user to define your conversational capabilities. And with that in place, you can then connect to the enterprise systems easily by pre-built integrations from within our platform. And that's when we think about or talk about a platform, is like you have so much already available to get started. From a corporate perspective, looking at this with a platform approach is also very important, because the corporates that are our customers, they need sophisticated technology that can scale, maybe even to millions interactions. So it needs to be very high performance. It needs to be secure. It needs to be, so for example, user access management or something, some functionalities that are required for a large organization. You don't want your marketing team to change any database connections, but the techies should have that power. And this is kind of like part of the platform that we provide. And then there comes a very important factor as well. This is in Europe very important, but more and more increasingly important in the US and other countries as well, is GDPR, data privacy. How is the data being processed? How long is the data being stored? What kind of information is being stored? You need to be able, looking from a corporate perspective, you need to be able to have full control and visibility about that. That cannot be a black box where you don't know where the data goes and who has access to this data. And that really sets Cognigy apart in the market right now. We have built our enterprise software stack is complete Dockerized, very scalable infrastructure, and in a way that our customers can either get this from us as a SaaS solution, or run this complete stack on their own dedicated environment, and they can put that in the cloud. But with that capability, they have the full power of defining where, how, and what kind of information is being processed. And this helps us a lot in the market right now. And we are now extending that to the voice part as well. So looking at the phone line, we are able to completely provide a software stack that can run fully on premises, and therefore, even on the phone line, those companies can fulfill data privacy needs, which is unseen in the market so far.
Okay. You already answered the one other question that came in, if it's available in the cloud or also on premise. I understood now it's both available.
Yeah.
So this question answered. No other question in the chat so far. Maybe people are still typing. So I have one question still. As you already said, you're really advancing all the possibilities there are, trying to connect all systems, to integrate, to connect to more and more systems. Where would you say is this journey going at the moment? What is also the future vision of Cognigy?
Yeah. Well, what we see right now happening a lot is that where in the early days it was some enterprises really taking this as, we need to take care about this, we need to get our hands to it, we got to understand this from an innovation perspective. But what we are seeing right now is that more and more companies are really getting very serious about this, pulling this right into their contact center space. And this is where Cognigy is well positioned as well, handling a lot of customer interactions, where this really goes into core processes that are being automated. And this is also part of the journey. It really rapidly evolves, and we do see that more and more companies are really building sophisticated center of excellences, teams around this within these organizations, and then also combining this with the capabilities to interface the backend systems. And from an organizational perspective, firewall settings, security, legal, there's quite a bit involved in order to get this going. So that's a really good and demanded invest from these companies, from our customers, into this stuff. And we do see this evolving very rapidly. And so I'm very happy about this moving forward. Where do I see this in the future? I think that really every large enterprise, maybe even the mid-markets, markets have to deal with conversational AI, and also the governments need to take care about this. I think I've heard numbers from a city of Düsseldorf losing 1/3 of their employees in the next 5 years because of retirement. In the insurance industry, it's pretty much the same. They all have very elderly workforce, and they can't get so many new people on board here as well. So there is definitely a demand for automating processes, so that with the existing workforce, you can serve these provide these services. And last year we already saw that happening. So think about these 18-year-olds were not able to pick up their driver's license because nobody was there to provide the services. And I'm really thinking that this will get more and more crazy. Now during Corona times, we were not able to change our addresses or something like that, you know. All of these services, or most of these services, can be automated if it's wanted, and I really see this as a large opportunity now, looking forward, that companies and government organizations will kind of like break the boundaries and move forward with this. Yes, this has to be GDPR compliant, as we discussed. This is very important, and we are very serious about this. But that's what's going on in the market right now.
Very exciting. Yeah, very curious also to watch how these really fast developments will go in the next years. Nice.
What we can do is we can post a link to our YouTube channel as well. We do have several demo videos, etc. out there. I think also a Kofax related video could be quite interesting. We have a UiPath demo there. We do have something with a ServiceNow. So all of that will help you all to familiarize yourself with these technologies, and my team is very happy to provide you any kind of guidance there and the technology, so that you can get started, build your own conversational interface, and then even get into writing software and code that extends this. So we are actually pushing this community who creates new integrations into Cognigy, and then put this out to our GitHub repository, so that this strengthens the whole ecosystem around us.
Nice, perfect, very interesting. Would really appreciate the link. Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. As I don't see any other questions so far in the chat, and we're almost at the end of this event, I would like to ask every one of you to just leave a comment in the chat, how you liked the event today, how you liked also the format, and maybe what you would like to hear or in one of the future events what topics you're interested in. So I'll just leave the chat open for you now. And stay a bit longer in the event.
Yeah, let me just find the GitHub link and the YouTube channel link so I can post that here. Then we have our YouTube channel. Okay, great.
Good. Then I'd say we just leave the meeting open a bit longer, so really every one of you can leave their comments. But I would already thank you, Sasha, from my side, and speaking for the whole community, to share your expertise today with us. It was really interesting, and I really learned a lot. I'm sure not the only one.
Thank you, Sophie, for having us. Great opportunity, and we are really looking forward to working with CGI tech consultants and everybody out there to build amazing stuff for customers and for the ecosystem. So